So Brian, thanks a lot for joining. It's been hard to get a few people in and get a few names on, but yourself was one that we really wanted to get involved with. So thanks a lot for your time, and we'll get started. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to kick a few things off with myself. A couple of questions here from me. Over your career, Oasis aside, what would you mark as your proudest work? For myself, my favourite of yours is Superstar, Verve. It's hanging downstairs in my kitchen. What would you say is your favourite non-Oasis piece?
Verve's first album, Storm in Heaven. I think that's the single best piece of work I've ever done. But only not just the front cover in isolation. If you look at the vinyl gatefold, when you look at the four sides of it, the full package, I see how you're digging it out now.
Yeah, get it out so people can see what
exactly that. I mean, none of it's done in Photoshop. We did it with bugger all money. I sweated blood doing that. I just think that's the best thing I've ever done, and I think it's up there with anything. That not me blowing my own trumpet here, but it really is as good as anything I've ever seen. That.
Yeah, and my copy here, you'll see in the corner, is signed by one person, and that's yourself.
That's me. Very good.
That's it. Were there any sleeves that were completely different to the initial ideas, and what were they? So did you ever put any ideas together? There'll be a few, I'm sure. A few ideas that you put together and completely different.
Not really, actually.
Right.
The way I work is, and I still work like this now, when students are studying graphic design, or when you're in like an age, what they tend to do is, if you're encouraged or you're taught that when you go and visit a client to present your ideas, you should maybe have 3, 4, 5, 6 different versions to show.
Right.
No, I hate that. I hate that approach. I'll tell you for why. Because you obviously prefer one yourself, right? Yeah. Well, it's inevitable they're going to pick the one that you don't like. You see what I mean? Right? So the way I work is I sort of fine-tune it down to what I think is the answer and develop that to a point and then show that to the client, because you've got to understand the relationship I had with the Oasis and the Verve and all the bands I worked with, really, to an extent, was because I knew them so well, because we lived in each other's pockets, and I made it my business to understand their projects as best as I possibly could. I was never likely to suggest to them something that they were going to reject.
Yeah.
Something that would have worked for the Verve wouldn't necessarily work for Oasis or Suede or Cast. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So this notion that, right, okay, I'm seeing Noel on Monday, I better come up with 5 different angles to see what he thinks. No, this is the idea. And because I knew him dead well, and I knew what he liked and what he didn't like, and I totally got the fucking band, obviously, nothing ever got rejected. The only one I can think of that comes to mind that was Be Now. You've seen the original mock-up of that, haven't you? Yeah, and that was only because there's nothing to do with budget or that somebody didn't like it. We just didn't have the time to in the end, fly 4 band members to 4 completely different locations. Or it would have probably been cheaper than what we did in the end. It had to do with budget.
What? Just for the guys that probably don't know about that. So what was the original idea?
Right. Well, the original concept was that each 5 members in Oasis, obviously, excluding Liam, the other 4 were to pick a location anywhere they wanted in the world, and they would fly there and be photographed in that location. So Noel, for example, I don't think I've actually got, because people always go, when they see that mock-up, glad they didn't use that. That was never going to be the fucking cover. That was like this is the idea for it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The locations were, you've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yeah.
Film. The flat top mountain where the aliens land.
Okay, yeah.
Google it if you haven't seen. Google is your friend on this one. It's somewhere in Utah, right? It's in America anyway. No one wanted to go there. I thought, this is going to look fantastic, this, right? Griggs wanted to be photographed on a beach in the Bahamas somewhere, and the Caribbean, smoking a spliff, obviously. I can't remember what else. And then in the middle of all this, Liam was going to be superimposed over everybody. It's Cracker's idea, really. But, that was basically it.
Well,
and it was only put on it was only given the kibosh because we just didn't have the time to do it. out to do more, because like I said, it probably would have been cheaper than what we ended up doing in the end. But apart from that, it was all pretty much, because again, the way I work is if I don't get an idea quickly, I struggle and I end up going into a depression over it, quite literally. I'm not joking either. It just affects me badly because I'm so passionate about what I do. So, but with Oasis, it all came quick because, I don't know, it just worked. It just clicked.
You were really close. I mean, I think for me, I mean, I'm quite close with Owen, as you know, and we did his interview a bit back, and his stories, it kind of came out when his stories, when he's talking about things like the What's the Story Morning Glory cover was one of his stories. And as soon as he starts the chat, he's like, oh, so I was with Brian. Me and Brian stayed in the same hotel, and me and Brian went. And he says no one was in the studio more than Noel, more than him and you. You were always there.
I was just thinking this before. We were great mates back then. We still are. I just don't see much of him because he lives in Edinburgh and I live in the Lakes.
Well, he lives in Costa Rica now. He's in Costa Rica.
Has he moved over there?
Yeah, 6 months ago. Oh, yeah.
Wow. But I'll give you a story. When he was mixing Morning Glory was obviously recorded in South Wales, but it was mixed at Orinoco in London, which is in Birmingham, in South East London. And I don't know how long he spent. I can't remember how long it was. It was a couple of weeks, I would have thought. But he'd be working all day, and he knows what he's doing, so it was a relatively quick process. But of an evening time, he'd ring me up because he made a lot more money out of it than I did. He said, "Right, do you fancy going for some dinner, tea, whatever you want to call it?" Oh yeah. Because he was minted at the time, he'd take me to outrageous restaurants, and I mean outrageous restaurants. Not like somewhere nice, I mean outrageous restaurants. Yeah. For example, he took me to the gaff where, when Bill Clinton was in town, Tony Blair took him to this restaurant. This is the level of eatery we're talking about.
So you're Bill Clinton here, and Tony Blair's taking you to his place, right? Okay.
So Owen Morris takes me to the same restaurant.
Yeah.
You can just imagine. And this was in the days when you could smoke in restaurants, so I can't begin to imagine how much this meal must have cost, because at the end we got the Cuban cigars on the go and all the rest of it, drinking huge glasses of brandy. Yeah. And you know how he laughs. Anybody watching this who hasn't heard, you cannot prepare yourself for Owen Morris's laugh. Because Noel Gallagher said to me, he once described Owen Morris's laugh to me as being debilitating. He's got a debilitating laugh. Incredible. So we and him, and we were like a double act that worked on a load of projects together, because we worked on The Verve together and Ash. And it always ended up the same scenario. 6 o'clock in the morning, in some studio somewhere, off our heads, jumping about when the mixing's finished. It was a great time,
That's it. No, he spoke highly of the time, because I think we've got on the group, when I go through the questions, there's a young girl called Talia, who's a 9-year-old Oasis collector. She does it with her mum, Nikki, and her dad, Eddie. And her question was to Owen about the Morning Glory cover. So she's got a question for you later on. But you seem like a little gang.
You know what? Bearing in mind how big the whole thing was.
Yeah.
The inner sanctum was incredibly tight, and because we'd all been there since day one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like we were like just offhand to anybody we didn't know. That was it. That was a tight, like our own little. It was a little gang, and because we were all living through extraordinary circumstances. Only us lot in the middle knew what it was really like. So we just hung out together. We were just good mates,
How did you all meet then? So I know you met Noel in a lift, didn't you? Is that right?
Well, I mean,
is that the story, or?
Well, there's an element of truth to it. Of course, we met. And there's a question about trainers coming up, and I've got something serious to say about that as well. Okay. Because it makes me laugh when people say that anyway. But yes, I did. We did get chatting in the lift about trainers, and that's basically how we met. But what happened was Noel Gallagher was it's well known this. He was the roadie, guitar tech for the Spiral Carpets.
Yeah.
And I had an office. I say office, a little studio. Basically, it was this building on Rochdale, just off Rochdale Road in Manchester, just slightly outside of the city centre. Probably, well, it isn't a trendy area now, it's near Ancoats, isn't it? But at the time, it was just a dirt cheap place to get an office. It was like a converted cotton mill, where they got loads of little business units in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just on a rolling month-to-month contract. It was dead informal. you know, you didn't have to sign your life away. And it was 20, my office, my studio, as I grandiosely call it, was 25 quid a week. But the thing was, there was no windows in it, right? Which is kind of unusual for a studio, shall we say.
Yeah.
But I was like in the dungeon in the basement, basically, because it was the cheapest room I could get. But, you know, I didn't have any computers or anything. I had a photocopier and an old-fashioned architect's drawing board, and that was my lot. And Noel Gallagher worked for the Inspirals in the same building. So we saw each other about, but the first time we properly got chatting was about trainers in the lift.
Right.
And before I started working with Oasis, Noel got me the gig doing the Inspirals artwork. That came before Oasis.
Right.
Because they were signed to Mute Records in London, and they were having some meeting about which London agency they should get in to do the artwork. And Noel, and he says, these are his words, not mine. What do you mean London agency? There's a genius 2 floors down that's just done she's a superstar, just done that. That's how early it was, 92 this. So he got me the gig with the Inspirals. And then obviously when Oasis got signed, which was in 93, I automatically took over that gig as well.
Right. Well, that's it. I think that's what happens, isn't it? Someone says something in an interview, or someone reads something somewhere, and a story forms. So that's the lift and the trainer story, I guess, isn't it? Really, I know that.
It wasn't like that's basically it. It is true. That's true. Yeah. That is actually true. Yeah.
How did you meet the guys from the Verve?
Oh wow! What happened there was
very local to you, aren't they? I suppose. So that's
well, yes, I know at the time because I wasn't living in Wigan and I didn't know them before this. What happened was, when was this? This was 89. I was actually living in London. But I was going out with a girl from Wigan called Sharon, and she
a classic woman from Wigan's name, Sharon. I'll take that.
Yeah. she went to Winstanley College where the Verve all met, sixth form college, right? So she knew them all, and she had this party in her house, and this is the late 80s. This way before the internet, way before streaming. You went to a party, you took records.
Yeah.
Anyway, and in this party, well, I didn't even take these. These were just some of my sleeves that I'd done for some bands that were lying about her house. And I get talking to this young student in this floppy hat, and anyway, it come to pass that he realised I'd done these sleeves for this band called the Rap Assassins, Ruthless Rap Assassins, right? And Kiss AMC. And so we just got chatting, and he's like, "What? You set out to design record sleeves? That's unreal. I mean, very specific for a young lad from Wigan, because I was only, 22 at the time.
Yeah.
A young lad from Wigan specifically set out to do that. You know, most young lads want to be DJs, footballers, rock stars, but you set out to be a sleeve designer. Like, yeah, I did. So we got chatting, and I got on with him really well, but he was a bit younger than me. You know, when he's 22, somebody who's 17 or whatever, it's this massive gap, isn't it? But we got on. I thought no more of it. And then two years later, I hadn't seen him. We didn't keep in touch or anything. No mobile phones, nothing. No internet. That was it. I see you. 2 years later, I bump into him at 6 o'clock in the morning at a petrol station in Wigan while I was looking for a pint of milk. True story, this. He gets out of his car and he recognised me. Wow, you're that sleeve designer guy, are you? Yeah. You're that student I met at that party, yeah. Wow. He's a striking looking guy, obviously, and he always was. And I says, right. He says, yeah, my band, I'm in a band now. We've been signed to Virgin. You can do the artwork if you want.
Your ears pricked up. Brilliant.
I'm like, wow. Because I was on hard times at that point. Nothing was happening really. I was struggling for work. And then after a bit of not a battle, I had to go down to London and convince the label. Because imagine this. I mean, This was in the days when record companies used to spend a lot of money on bands.
Yeah.
You know, before you put a record out, there are a few $100,000 into them, recording, promotion, manufacturing. So they obviously had a London agency lined up to do the Verve's artwork.
Yeah.
Then Richard Ashcroft tells them, no, I've got this guy from Wigan who's met at a party, who's got no track record really. He's done a few bits. I want him to do it. Like, what? So they freaked out. So I went down to London and, you know, they reluctantly let me do it because Richard wanted me to do it. So that was, you know, they were all...
What did you take into that meeting?
Well, that meeting, not just the Rap Assassin stuff that I'd done, really.
Yeah.
But then when they said, right, okay, you got the gig, then I had to go back and present ideas for the single All in the Mind. And it was literally a sketch on a piece of. I'd never had a job.
Yeah.
I had no concept of presentation techniques. I didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
I knew. I had it in my head. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just then brief a photographer, shoot it. That's it. What you want me to do? What mock up? I was brand new at this, but I've always been like that. I've always made it up as I go along. I've never had a job ever.
Yeah.
Doing this ever. So
I've seen it.
I've made it all up myself.
I can't think where I've seen it, but I've seen the image behind you there. I've seen the mock-up image of that before, and it literally is a drawing, isn't it? It's a drawing that you did. This will be it, and that'll be that, and that's it. I did ask. He did something for that, didn't he?
That's how I did them all. I mean, I think Brian Garcia's got some of them now. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like matchstick men drawings, looking up, and Parker up. It's all there, but really shit drawings that I did before we did them.
Did you ever want to be in a band when you was growing up yourself, or was it just all?
Absolutely. Too right, I did. Yes, punk rock.
Everyone did. Everyone.
Of course I did. And I got myself an acoustic guitar. In fact, I thought we even did form a band with my mates, and they all met up around my mum's house for our initial practice. And then we thought, shit, none of us can play anything. Wow, we forgot about that, because with punk, it was the whole energy was about just doing something, getting involved.
Yeah.
And I did try and learn guitar, but what I found myself doing, I just played it. I couldn't get my head around chords. I just play an acoustic, like a bass, and I just end up picking out the melody on one string, and that's as far as I could get. I mean, I did buy a bass later down the line and have a go, but I realised pretty quickly that I just did not have the patience to learn guitar, and I couldn't sing. So that was that.
I think I'm from Manchester. I think it's in the blood in Manchester. You've got to be in a band at some stage as you grow up, and that's the way it works. And you are right, and that's the way it works. But
have you been in a band?
I did. Yeah, I was in this band from 14 to 22, but it was different phases. But it was indie, then it was pop punk. I went through phases, and it was more of a. I was actually talking about this to a lad tonight. It's more of just a hobby, and it was a laugh. Some lads take it seriously and go a bit further, but for me it was a hobby around the time. But I worship music. It's my daily life these days. But I think we've answered the first question of David's there as you clocked on with the trainers. So David Walker on the group, he covers off here. Says Noel often wrote out the lyrics to the songs.
Hang on. This is not. We haven't skipped past it. Is the word Nike in there? Have we gone past that?
Oh, hang on. So there's questionnaire about the trainers. So yeah, you met a young Noel Gallagher in the lift, started chatting over a mutual love for Adidas trainers. Do you ever wonder how different life might have been if that chance encounter hadn't occurred, or if you'd been wearing Nikes that day?
Right. Well, 2 points here. Yeah, had I not met Noel Gallagher, well, we'll never know, will we? Because I did, and the rest is history. But I was working with the Verve anyway, so one or two main bands. To work with both the two main bands of that generation, which they were, to work with them both. In fact, I introduced Noel to Richard. That's how this all came about. I was the central pivot that brought it all together. Because I played Richard the Union Jack Swirl demo that got them on that 93 tour with them. But obviously, had I not met Noel, my life would be completely different. And this fucking nonsense about Nike being bad for some reason. These are all people who don't know what they're on about when it comes to trainers. I'll tell you for why. I'm really passionate about this. Back in the day, when all this trainers was starting off, in other words, my generation who invented it, right? Nikes were just as cool as Adidas. In fact, that day that I met Noel, he's talking about my Adidas. He was wearing Nikes. I can still remember him. They were yellow and green, and he bought them in Argentina when he was over there with the Spirals. No one with Nikes.
No, there's a lot of pictures of them both wearing Nikes throughout the 90s. I don't know where you're right. I don't know where Adidas has just stepped right up, hasn't it? Adidas seems to be the one.
All this trainer business goes back to the 80s, right? And it's got nothing to do with hip hop in America. It all started in Liverpool.
I was saying the Scousers, yeah, absolutely.
Even the Manx will admit this now, It all started in Liverpool in the late 70s with Adidas Samba. That's where it all began. And then with them going into Europe, watching Liverpool, robbing shops, and you've heard all the stories, and bringing the trainers back. But Nikes were just as legitimate a fashion statement. All the early waffle running shoes, I've got more pairs of Nikes in this house now than I have Adidas.
Yeah. I mean, in high school for me, I started high school in '95, and everyone had Nikes. Everybody had Nike Air Max, Nike Air Max. The 1997 Nikes are bang on, absolutely bang on.
Well, so, and I've been waiting. Like, that didn't come into it because no one was wearing Nikes.
No one was wearing them at the time, right? Okay, yeah. That's it. So his next one was he often wrote the lyrics down for the songs for you to inspire your designs. Have you kept any of them? I suspect there's a next question coming to you by PM there. Can I buy one? He says, if there's any left.
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Well, did he do that? Did he write?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But it wasn't. You see, you've got to bear in mind a lot of this. We were mates. Well, we became mates. We weren't mates before the project began. We worked closely together. When I say he wrote them down for me, there was no sort of ceremonial piece of paper handed to me. It was like, we'd be sat there and he'd write them down, and I might just read them, get my head around it, or leave the meeting, leave them there. Yeah. I did sell some back in the day. I mean, I was on my arse in the noughties. That was a dark period of my life, which I'll elaborate on further one day. But I'm past that now. Things are great again. But I did sell a few bits back in the day, and to Anders Larsson. I don't know if you've heard of him, the Danish collector.
Yeah.
Who in turn, see, the good thing now is most of the stuff that I saw back then has found its way to Brian Garcia. Right? Yeah. So I kind of feel as though I've still got it then, because I go to see Brian in Texas every year, and I go, we're mates, and so if Brian's got it, I kind of still got it. Really, that's the way I see it.
You still got access to it. You still. He was out there. He was out there, wasn't you? Was it last year at some stage? A few pictures popped up of guitars in deserts. I thought, right, that's you two together.
I love it. I love America. I could literally spend the rest of my life driving around America. I love it.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm quite close with Brian these days. I think he's a wealth of knowledge. Some of the stuff he's got that people don't even know about is ridiculous.
I mean, I photographed all that collection, and it's like painting the fourth bridge. I had to explain to him what that term meant, right? Because obviously, so you get to the end and you start at the beginning again. Because I photographed his collection, and I'd fly back to England. And by the time before I got off the plane, he bought some more gear. So it's just constantly growing, and it is nuts. I mean, what did surprise me though, I don't think he realises himself all the stuff that he's got. I mean, he's got that much of it now. He's not. It's not like he's got some sort of museum labelling. It's all over the show as well. It was a nightmare.
He put a picture up the other week, and it made me laugh because it was a picture of the Definitely Maybe sofa. But what was funny about it was a sofa, but the stuff in the background is just stuff just shoved on a shelf, which is what collectors think. That's a beautiful prize piece. I've got the jar, the What's the Story jar in there. I've got the dartboard down there. He's just got them strewn about. Just an ornament. It's just an ornament. It's crazy.
Incredible. It is incredible.
So David's also said, when you were doing the Be Here Now sleeve, it's a bit deep, this one. First and dream locations concept, then the final roles in a pool design. Did you ever have a moment where you thought, shit, we've lost touch here? We're a bit too removed from our audience now? Or did it just feel like a natural, honest reflection of where it come to that point?
I don't know. It's nothing to do with losing touch with your audience. I mean, once you start becoming contrived and thinking about, right, what can we do? We've got it. Do you see what I mean? That never come into it. And then you can't second guess what you're doing for fear of offending anybody or being out of touch with anybody. We just did what we wanted to do and what was right at that time. And sticking Rolls Royce in that bill was just about fucking where Oasis were at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The caveat behind it is it wasn't a roadworthy Rolls Royce. We didn't trash a £50,000 Rolls Royce. It was a scrap one that we had. There was no engine in it. It was a scrap one that we hired for £1,000. So if you look at it that way, it's like we were it's almost like a fucking half a daily version of doing it, isn't it, really? You know what I mean? It's like a piss take. It was knackered anyway.
Yeah.
So no, we definitely did. We weren't. No is the answer to that.
I love that cover. I've had all the promo posters over the years, every single one that you've done, every one, and I've kept probably about 5. And my favourite one is the Be Here Now promo cover with the Rolls Royce.
Yeah, it's great.
Their frames, it's beautiful. That's my favourite image, comfortably. After you stopped working with Oasis, were there any sleeves that you thought, wow, I really could have done a better job than that?
All of them. What, me for Oasis?
Yeah, from the day you stopped ongoing.
Every one of them.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think if you look at
The only one that I think, and I'm not into dissing other people's work, but I would have done a better job.
yeah, of course.
The only one that I kind of like is what's one? It's like a bunch of keys with a CND key ring on it.
Yeah.
Right, Let There Be Love, is it, or something? Yeah, that one.
That's handy.
That's the only one that I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. And that's a kind of an approximation of my logo on it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I think, no, that's the 10-inch, yeah, that below. Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, I'd agree with that. My opinion doesn't count in this interview, but I'd agree with that. I think from that stage forward, I think Standing on the Shoulders onwards, it changed a little bit. There was a little tweak. I think you and Owen and some of the old guard shifted over. Yeah. I think it was a little bit different from them, wasn't it?
Of course it was. I think my dad, who's 95, would say, you know, it all ended when Bonehead left. You know, it makes me laugh. It's true though. And that happened to coincide with Owen going, me going. You know, it's just a different gig. Really.
Absolutely. Your dad. How many sleeves has your dad been in? Do you know that number off the top of your head?
Oasis ones, 3, is it? Do you know what I mean?
By me.
Not Stand By Me. Everybody thinks that's my parents. It's not. Some might say, and Master Plan.
Right. Okay. So some might say, was there somebody from the local bar in that? Was the girl like a local barmaid?
The girl on the platform, standing down the platform, was getting rained on. Yeah.
She's a local barmaid, and you put her in because you fancied her, I believe.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
That's it, brilliant. I think you was discussing that on your Twitter page, wasn't you, recently? There was Liam up on the bridge, and deal. Well, Jonathan Craig, in the early days, how hard was it to convince record companies that breaking away from traditional branding rules, for example, not putting a record title on the cover, was okay to do? Did you ever get a band involved? Did you ever have to get a band involved to overturn the decision where the record company rejected an idea?
Right. Well, when I first started off in the late 80s, working for major labels like EMI, I mean, this was mad when I think back to it, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing in terms of technically putting the records. I was just winging it, but did some great stuff. I wasn't allowed to do it. The record had to be on, title had to be on the front. There was no way around it. Because at the end of the day, I was totally unknown, right? So I didn't want to rock the boat that much, because what was I going to do? Right, fuck you then, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Of course I'm going to do it. I need the experience, I need the contacts, I need the money. You know, I was just starting out. But not only that, the bands I was working with didn't really have any power.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the crux of the matter. And more importantly, probably, the people at the record companies weren't that switched on. They weren't cool.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, with Creation, it all went back to McGee. You know, if you really wanted to, you'd like, yeah, I want to speak to Alan about this. You know, if you wanted to stamp your feet, that's what would happen. And basically, I was like, just let them do what they want. Same with the Verve at Hut, which was a subsidiary of Virgin. A guy called Dave Boyd ran that. And he was the same. He was like, you just do what you want. You know? Because at the end of the day, record sleeves don't sell records anyway.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they probably account for 1% of sales. You know, it doesn't. People don't. I mean, I have, but then again, I'm a sleeve designer, so I'm obsessed with it. But,
do you think that? I mean, that similar to yourself there. I've looked at records in record. I was in Assai in Edinburgh today, looking at records, and there's a couple I picked up because I liked the sleeve. Do you think that? And this isn't a question. This is going off piste. Is it as important these days at all to have a record sleeve that would really eye catch? Because I think everything's online, isn't it? Do you think that's really affected the way people buy music?
Well, nobody buys music anymore anyway, do they? Really?
Well, Spotify, isn't it, for $10 a month or whatever it is? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would argue that sleeves are, you know, not packaging, but branding and visual identity for a band is more important now than it has ever been.
Right.
Because there's that everybody's at it. You know, it's free for all. There's no. The whole record company system's just gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. And everybody's vying for your ears. Everybody's got a website. Everybody's got a Facebook page. Everybody's got an Instagram account. It's the same for everybody. Yeah. So the only one thing you can do to differentiate yourself from anybody else is have cool graphics.
Yeah, yeah.
But that point is missed on a lot of people, I think.
Well, we had an interview last week with Jane Savage, who was quite heavy in the 90s with Savage and Best. I'm sure you remember Jane. Previous is Phil, she's gone through a great personal life change. One of her questions was about, could there be another Britpop movement? Could that happen again? And she categorically said no, because it was just done differently in the past. Now you need to have a massive social media following. You have to have, you know, a lot of people already on you to even get listened to these days. So I think that kind of ties in quite well, actually. Yeah, it's a different animal now, isn't it? It couldn't happen again.
Totally different.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I don't think it's for the better either. But then I don't want to sound like my granddad whinging on, "Oh, it's better when I was a lad." But you know, it's different. It's just different, isn't it? You know, I don't think anybody who was around when we were doing all this in the 90s would say it's better now. And no. You know, I'm sure the young people these days will say, "Shut up, you old fart, it's Ace now." So I don't know.
I'm in between the two. I'm 36 in 2 weeks. And I think I just missed the start of the Oasis journey, because I'd have been 10 when they popped up properly. 10, so I missed it. But you know, three years later, I was involved, and I think I'd jump back to them any day of the week. Any day of the week. What do you think of the Gareth Halliday work? What do you think of all that? That was quite an interesting, different direction for Noel. What do you think of the Gareth Halliday?
I think it's great. I think it's really good. You're talking about Who Built the Moon graphics?
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I really do. I think he's got a brilliant style, and I think he executes it extremely well. I met him actually. It was funny. He won't mind me saying this because it's true. You know, I'm not saying anything that's not true. I did a talk and a Q&A at a pub in London. It was a while back. It was in East London. A mate of mine, John Horsley. You know John Horsley?
Yeah.
We did the photography for Bittersweet Symphony. He put it on in London. Anyway, Gareth showed up, and apparently, he told me this himself afterwards. So I'm not making it up. He was that nervous about meeting me. He got blind drunk, and I don't just mean like a bit pissed. I mean, I'm talking absolutely fucking hammered, right? So to the point where I couldn't have a conversation with him. Right, but I did say to him, "I think your work's great, mate."
Yeah. I was in for my job. I go around the country every now and then for meetings and whatnot. And I was in a place. Oh God, it was just outside of Harrogate, and there was.
I know the gallery you're talking, the Red House Gallery.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I think
I know the guy who runs it.
So you had, I think there was a few bits of yours on there. There's a few bits of Garrett's as well. So I was in there. I was staying, just a mad coincidence, a couple of streets away for this work meeting. I thought, bloody hell, you come right that. I'll go and have a little look around. Absolutely. But his work's fantastic, and it looks quite nice side by side because it's completely different. It's completely different to yours, isn't it? It's quite.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I do. I think it's great.
Absolutely. So Kevin Gardner, next fella. In my opinion, the Oasis Golden Era was 94 to 99. I think we'd probably agree. When Bonehead and Gwigsy left and Microdot stopped doing the sleeves, it marks the end of the proper Oasis identity. Why did it end for Microdot, and what was your opinion of the band and the sleeves post 2000?
Well, the reason it ended for Microdot was pretty much the reason it ended for. It was just all change at the office, wasn't it? You know, it's that was it. There's no fallout because you think about it. In 2004, I repackaged the Definitely Maybe anniversary DVD.
Yeah,
I've never had a fallout.
Yeah,
I don't know. He just wanted something to do. He fancied a change. He thought we had a change.
Yeah.
You know, Owen went. We went. Bonehead went. It's a different species, let alone different animal. After that, really. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, there was no fallout. And what was my opinion of it afterwards? Like I said, I'm not really into slagging anything off, but it was just better before.
Yeah. We've covered that bit, I suppose, earlier on, haven't we? Simon Williams, did any band ever look at one of your designs and say, that's rubbish, or something similar, and did you have to start again? No. Short and sweet, no.
No, and I'll tell you for why. Because of the communication that I had with the bands prior to that happening.
Yeah.
It was never going to happen. You know, it's not like, you've got to understand that the way and the way I got my team to work with these bands was totally different to all the other design agencies.
Yeah.
We work for the bands, right? All the others work for the record companies. Right?
Yeah.
I never got commissioned by record companies because they didn't like me, because they knew they couldn't control us. They knew that I wouldn't pay a damn bit of notice to anything they're saying, because I'm working for the band.
Yeah.
The band is my client. You just pay the bills, right? So the relationship that we developed with the artists that I work with was such that it would never come to a situation where I'd pitch an idea or show them some visuals or one of my half-cocked sketches that they were going to dislike, because I'd done my research and hung out with them and, you know, lived in the studio with them, been on tour with them, been boozing with them, whatever. So no, not even close.
Well, James Moon is the next follow the question. That full answer there pretty much answers his next question here. Without saying it just because you're doing an interview, in my opinion, all your Oasis sleeves are by far the best and most interesting. James wants to give you a nice compliment. If you look at it side by side with comparison, it seems to have got more lazy and less creative, and only picked up again on Dig Out Your Soul. Do you feel this is because the later works were essentially done by somebody drafted in to do a job by the record company, rather than somebody being involved with the band? So you've pretty much just covered that there with your last answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what relationship they had with the following designers. I know it's Simon Halfon, and then after that, I think it was Intro, the agency. But what we did was different, because we were part of the project. Part of the project, an integral part of the fucking project. Not just like, right, we need a sleeve, we're going to get this guy and he's going to do it. I'm not suggesting that's how they work. Perhaps they just, I don't know what happened. Again, I'm not slagging anybody off. But the way we operated was entirely different, and you can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. What cover was the most fun to make? What did you have the most fun making as a cover? He's put Shaker Maker is quirky, whereas Cigarettes and Alcohol is a party scene. What did you enjoy the most?
Do you know what? I never really... Doing it was always hard work, because we shot it all on film back then. So you never knew what you had until a couple of days later. So I was always freaking out, you know. You didn't know on the shoot what it was going to look like. It's not like now, where you take a picture, you can see it.
Oh, so you shot it all as a video? Oh no, you mean right? So you had to go back and look at it. I see what you mean. Sorry, you took a picture. And you had to go back and look at it. Yeah. You had
to take the film to a fucking darkroom. I mean, it's mad. This is not like 1900. This is 1990, the 1990s. There was there was digital photography, but it was in its infancy. Yeah. We didn't know. When we packed up and left to shoot for the sleeve, we had no idea. We had no idea what we had in the can. Right? So it was a very nervous time for me.
Yeah.
But which one did it? Roll with it was good laugh. Roll with it was great. Yeah. Because it was the Glastonbury weekend as well. And it was dead hot. And again, because we've done our research, we've been down to Somerset twice testing that location. We didn't just rock up one day with the band and say, right, let's take some pictures. Yeah. We were like the fucking SAS. We knew exactly what was going on, who was doing what. You know, nothing was left to chance. Because we knew if we didn't get it right that time, we couldn't call them back. They might be abroad the following day somewhere. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll tell you a story now. I don't think I've ever mentioned this to public. Just, I said we were meticulous, we planned everything out, but one thing I didn't plan for, and one thing I could not have even thought of, was the day we did Some Might Say, there's obviously fish in the wheelbarrow, right? Yeah. The real fish, right? Unbelievable this. Where we shot that sleeve, Matlock Bath, right, in Derbyshire, is the furthest point from the coast you can get in Britain.
Okay, right.
This is no word of a lie. It's literally, you look at a map.
The train station is still an active one.
You cannot get further from the sea in the whole of the British Isles than that point where we were. And I'm like, where's the nearest fishmongers? And they're like, fishmongers? There ain't any fishmongers around here. We had to drive to Bakewell, which is like goodness knows how far away, to find some fish. So that was one thing I'd planned for. But yeah, you know, it was a great time to be alive and be involved with the most amazing band. But you know, it was all very right. The difference was when you saw how the videos were done, because the videos were done by outside crews and team who come in, and I think at the time they were just trying to show off because they were working with Oasis. So With these massive crews of people running around with clipboards and all sorts. What's all these people doing? But when we did it, was just like 3 or 4 of us, you know. And,
the gang, yeah.
Yeah, it was just us lot. I mean, you knew exactly what we were doing, and we did it well, and it always looked great, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, that's that, and you can tell that. You can tell. You're right. Some of the videos, I think when Be Here Now hit, everything went hyper. Then everyone went hyper. You know, the video for Do You Know What I Mean, for example, it's like a blockbuster film.
The video for Do You Know What I Mean, right? See, I was with Liam Gallagher in a pub in St John's Wood, near Lord's Cricket Ground, right? The day after the video, because they were that big at the time, they premiered the video on telly. Right?
Yeah, I remember it, yeah.
And we were outside this boozer near Lord's Cricket Ground in London, me and Liam. And I'd said to him, I thought the video was shit. Not the performance, they looked great. Yeah. But what's all these zombie characters like? With like smoke flares, dressed like what the fuck is all that about? And I said, no, I'm not into it. And this old couple, and they were old as well, this couple who must have been in the 70s were walking past this pub and said, oh, Liam, we saw the video last night, we loved it. And like, Liam, right, yeah, tell fucking Barry Norman here then. Like, I thought it was shite. But, and another thing, I'll tell you another story about that day. Them helicopters, there was only one helicopter.
Yeah.
Right? The CGI'd it in or whatever you call it to look like a lot of them. But they did, it was British Army pilot, you know, genuine British Army helicopter that they got in, and they got the band in, and they're off flying, and he's doing some quite dangerous manoeuvres, and Liam says to him, "Yeah, dickhead," you know, he's like, "Yeah, stop showing off." The pilot very calmly said to him, "Listen, mate, I flew in Baghdad in the dark, getting shot at. This is a piece of piss." And he's like, okay.
Oh, it is. I think it's been knocked down. I think the set for that now. It's just I can't think where it is now. In
the Gasworks at Beckton in East London.
That's it. Yeah.
They filmed Platoon there, or Full Metal Jacket, one of the two.
That's it. Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, that's it. That's where I've heard of it before. Yeah. I mean, Stand By Me when that came out. The video. I mean, it's nonsense.
I don't even know what it looks like. I can't remember it. You know. I mean, All Around the World's another one. You know, it's like,
and that is like a dream on acid all around the world. It really is. But I think
I almost got the gig of doing whatever. I don't know why it didn't come to me, but I was gutted in the end because I just started doing. McGee got me into do videos for the Super Furries, and I would have loved to have done something because I think they're all cigarettes and alcohol was all right. Supersonic's good because it's just. I mean, I'm in Shaker Maker driving the car.
Right.
With the looking like I'm in the Velvet Underground with them shades on.
Yeah.
It's my car that as well. But you know, they were just I don't know. I know why Noel didn't like doing videos because it felt like some sort of fraud doing the same thing over and over. And, you know, when you've sung the same song 30 times, it's like, fucking hell, you know. I mean, whereas it was a different process doing a sleeve.
There's a video, isn't there? There's a video. I don't know if it's an extra on one of the DVDs, but you can grab it on YouTube of Noel commentating over.
It's brilliant. It's genius.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah. I think if anyone's not seen that, that's the thing to go and check to refer to back to this conversation. That it is. I mean, I watch it if I'm pissed off on a bus. I'm going back to Manchester. I'm getting a train. What's that for a while?
Because he says that, and that. Do you know what I mean? Who the fuck are these? Like, who are all these people? What the fuck is this about? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the suits are massive and all around the world. Whose clothes am I wearing there? That's exactly it. That's it. So,
funny, they had those suits made by Savile Row Taylor.
Right.
Yeah, Boneheads is upstairs in this house here.
Is that right? Yeah. There's only, I think, is it? I think it's only Boneheads that looks all right. Actually, I think everybody else looks. It's massive. You know, it's like wearing somebody else's clothes, isn't it? Yeah. It's no, it's all. I mean, that whole album, it's like I say, when 1997 I'd have been 12, so that I remember all the videos very well because that was when MTV was massive, and I come in from school, pop it on, sit there, and you've got to wait for a video to come on that you want to see, and you think, I'll get past Barbie Girl, and it'll be on in a minute, and that's the way it used to work, rather than now.